Is HR just hiring and firing?
Absolutely not. I think that's a simplification that a lot of small business owners make to their peril.
And their opinion is they can do any darn thing they want. And then I've also got people who think they can't do anything.
That could be a costly error. Not having someone at your side is going to be much more costly than having someone who walks alongside you. We really helped save them potentially thousands of dollars.
I don't think we should really be doing DIY on our HR stuff. You can't be a sissy and own a business.
Reach out to a professional who can help you navigate.
Expert advice, practical tips, real-life stories. Have less stress, more time, and more money in your business. Welcome to the Cashflow Contractor.
Hello, Cashflow Contractors. This is Martin, as you can probably tell. Today, I am the technical wizard, the go-to guy, the star of the show. Well, not the star, I guess is the star, but I'm the star host because Khalil is gone. He had a mix-up with a flight and a scheduling, and so he's in the air right now, and we wanted to get Tena in. Important that we hear what she has to say, and we've also kind of messed up a couple of schedules. Been kind of hard to get everything lined out. So today my guest is Tena. Do you say Jolley or Jolie?
It's Jolley.
Tena Jolley.
Yes.
And she is the owner, founder, CEO, operator, boss person for Appella HR. I don't know. Appella is the name. HR services?
It's Apela Strategic Solutions,
Okay.
and we do HR consulting and executive coaching.
Okay. Would you just tell us a little bit about yourself? I know the name has special meaning, and just give us an idea of who you are and who they're going to be listening to.
Yeah. For about the last 30 years, I've spent in the HR space. 25 years of my career were spent with one of the Native American tribes. I am a Choctaw citizen, and the word Apela means help in Choctaw. And so that's what we are to small businesses. We're a help in the complexities that they face. And so we come at things from a servant leadership mindset. And so we are looking for ways that we can serve them all the time.
And I want to, I'm sure we'll say this again, but I want to make sure that we say it early. You're not just an Oklahoma firm. Where
No.
all do you work?
We're all throughout the United States.
Okay. And how does that work? How do you work with companies? I mean, out of state, you have to know a whole bunch of different laws and.
Yes, and we have some software and folks that we have spread out throughout the United States that are resources for us, but it allows us to drill down to state-specific rules and laws. In some states, it even breaks down into by city or by county. Some of the rules change. And so we do our very best to stay on top of those things. That's why it's important that we use the tools at hand to make sure that we're on top of those things.
Which implies that your effort to stay on top of them implies that takes effort.
Absolutely.
So if I'm living in Oklahoma on the border and I have employed somebody in Arkansas, there are some issues I may not be aware of.
Absolutely.
Okay? And we don't need to get to that quite yet.
Yeah.
People who've listened to us for a long time know that my favorite subject is financial and accounting and making decisions, financial decisions, operating decisions based on finance, things like that. And I've become more and more strident the more I coach. And what I've come up with was a no DIY, do it yourself. And it started with bookkeeping. There are some very, very simple businesses, basically could run out of a checkbook and bank statements. They can keep their own books. But I tell people, don't DIY your books. You're just going to mess them up and it doesn't cost that much. I have since expanded to don't DIY HR, right? Don't
Yes.
DIY IT. Don't DIY your legal issues. But anyway, that's a long-winded way to say, I've come around to saying, I don't think we should really be doing DIY on our HR stuff. And would you agree or disagree? I'm going
to completely agree.
I kind of
Wholeheartedly.
I
Yes.
kind of thought you might. So I think in my experience talking with hundreds and hundreds of small businesses that a lot of people think HR is just hiring and firing. And then I also find people that have put that in context two ways. One, hiring and firing, and their opinion is they can do any darn thing they want because they've heard things like this is an at-will state. But whatever it is, they think they can do anything. And then I've also got people who think they can't do anything. And they have employees around that they should have let go because they're scared to let them go, scared to reprimand them. So what about that? Is HR just hiring and firing?
Absolutely not. I think that's a simplification that a lot of small business owners make to their peril in many instances. You referenced small business owners who think they can do anything. That could be a costly error on their business.
Have you got any examples of somebody that made a big mistake?
Oh, absolutely. There's a company that we worked with, and they were a small manufacturing company, and they had the mindset that they could just fire people whenever they felt like for any reason. And we had their HR person actually reached out to us. They had an unseasoned HR person. And so we came in and just spoke with their leadership, helping them understand how detrimental that is to their organization, because the instance they were going to let someone go would have turned out to be litigious because they were somebody who was very angry with the company for good reason. And so we really helped save them potentially thousands of dollars by going through a due process of progressive discipline until they were able to let that person go. In the end, they saw the value, but in the beginning, they just didn't know what they didn't know. And so
Right.
I give a lot of credit to that unseasoned HR person who knew it felt wrong.
My only issue is a lot of the companies I'm thinking don't have any sort of seasoned or unseasoned HR person.
Well, she was called HR, but she did a lot of the payroll. She was an admin assistant. So
Yeah.
she was like a lot of the small businesses. She wore a lot of hats and didn't really have a specialty in any of them. But to her credit, she realized this is beyond me. And so if you ever get that feeling, reach out to a professional who can help you navigate well.
Just keeping it parallel, that was somebody who thought they could do anything. Do you have any examples maybe that you can tell us and consequences of people who don't think they can do anything, or they're all just petrified?
Oh, absolutely. There are leaders out there who believe that you have to keep people. Once you hire them, you're kind of stuck with them until they decide to leave. And that is at their detriment as well, because they set up a standard that allows people to just do whatever they want. That hurts your business in a lot of ways. For your high performers, it's demoralizing that there's someone who just runs around doing and saying whatever they want. And so those employees wind up leaving. So it hurts you in your high performing employees, but also it hurts your bottom line. And then you're stuck with a very toxic work environment, which opens you up for liability as well.
I can just hear people, because I've heard them in person, say, man, that's great. I would love to have somebody to call, but I can't afford it. And I love it. I say, well, how much does it cost? And I have to give an example. I said, you need an HR person. You don't need one. I already got a manual. It's that thick. I said, really? Who did that? Seriously. Do you remember there was a General Motors plant in Oklahoma City?
Yes.
Closed in like 1990.
Yes.
Well, the brother-in-law or somebody had gotten a hold of a copy of the General Motors manufacturing plant HR manual. That was their HR manual. I mean, they weren't manufacturing, they weren't General Motors. It was 25 years later. Anyway, so somebody says, I really can't afford it. What? I just can't afford it. So I got it, but I'm busy. I'll worry about that tomorrow, and we'll keep Rod on, or we'll go ahead and fire Rod like I would have done. What's an approach? What?
I think just finding instead of assuming you can't afford it, finding an HR professional and bringing them in and having a conversation. There are many small HR businesses that will come in and talk with you and build a solution that can be on a case-by-case basis, or they can be on a small retainer to be available whenever you need. But not having someone at your side is going to be much more costly than having someone who walks alongside you, helping with solutions at a reasonable rate.
And I think that's one of the things. We talk a lot on our podcast about fractional CFOs, people who have very highly skilled in a certain area, and you don't really need that all the time, but they can buy your time. That's how you work with people? Yes, no?
Absolutely. We work in we customize our solutions or our proposals based on what their needs are. If there's someone that have high needs, then we would recommend a retainer type solution for them. If there's someone that may need help for 30, 60, 90 days on a project by project basis, we provide proposals for those types of solutions as well, working within their budgets, because that's something we ask up front. What are the constraints? What are the pain points that you have currently? And we customize solutions to fit their needs.
Yeah, there are a couple of specific areas I want to talk to you about, maybe toward the end,
Okay.
that are of particular interest to me because they've come up recently with clients. But if somebody says, okay, I'm listening to this podcast, first of all, we'll put your information in the show notes so they can reach out to you as a start. But
thank you.
What's the first thing? I mean, it might differ by company and their situation, but what's the first thing?
The first thing is making contact and us having a conversation to figure out what your needs are.
Okay.
And then we'll do a fact finding, because we don't want to provide something you don't need. We'll meet you where you're at.
Okay. Give me an idea of some of the things that you're going to choose among.
Okay. Well, one of the things that we would talk with them about are their employee handbooks. What does that handbook look like currently? Does it fit their culture? And then what are their policies? What are the problems that they're having, the pain points they're having? Is it employee relations issues? Is it around compensation? Is it, and if it is compensation, we'll talk to them a little bit about what their philosophy is on how they're paying their employees.
And what kind of philosophies do you see?
All across the board. Some people want top performers at bottom dollar, which is really difficult to get. And then what I find for most people is we want to pay somewhere in the middle. We don't want to pay the highest, but we don't want to be the lowest. We want to be competitive in our market.
Can you help them with that type of market research? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know one thing that I've often seen, and I think you and I talked about it, was employers tell their employees not to tell the other employees what their salaries are. and you can't do that, correct?
Right. That's correct.
Well, you can tell them if you want to, but they don't have to do that. But I've always maintained that the reason that happens is because there wasn't a rational, logical approach to this guy versus that. And then all of a sudden, if one of them is a woman and the other's a man, and it's random, and the woman, it's truly unfair. Now it's protected class, and all. Anyway, that if you can come up with some rational way to compensate people.
Absolutely. Based on years of experience and what they bring to the table and the job itself. And so paying people fairly and consistently is a great practice.
Well, more things too. We talked about a handbook, job descriptions. I mean, HR is just so many things.
It is job descriptions, employee training and development, organizational design. As small businesses are growing and scaling, sometimes they don't understand how to get the right people in the right seat.
Right.
And so those are considerations. If you are needing to bring on talent, how do I find the best talent with the budget that I have to work with? And so really it's from beginning to end HR, from onboarding employees or before onboarding employees to offboarding employees and everything in the middle.
And in your appella, Am I
Apila.
Apila? I knew I miss. Who do you generally work with?
We
I
work
mean,
with small to mid-sized employers.
well, I mean the person. What
Oh,
person?
we typically will work with the owner if it's a really small company. If it's if they are big enough to have a CFO, we may work with their CFO or their operations. It really depends on what size the company is. If they're a very small company, most often we're working with the owner.
And do you have a particular starting place? You said you meet to hear their needs, but what usually, an idea that somebody can get their head around? Oh, I could contract with you and get this. There's a unit, whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Well, typically when we're called, someone's hair is on fire. Maybe they've let an employee go and they have an unemployment claim that they have just lost, and they realize that there's an opportunity for appeal, but they don't know what they need to do to win the appeal. They'll give us a call. Or if they've gotten a letter from the Department of Labor or the EEOC or the FLSA, one of the big federal agencies, and they're afraid. And so we typically will have a conversation. We'll ask to review all of those documents. We'll put together something that helps them resolve that. And we just bring a calmness to the
Right.
situation, letting them know that we're going to walk with them through that and help them solve their immediate problem.
Information and expertise. Yeah, I
Yes.
find that so often the stressor. That's why bookkeeping, HR, IT, a lot of people want to manage their own server. So you got the CEO of a small company in there underneath the hood of this server that they actually have. Anyway,
Yeah.
just don't do that. So
Yes. Yes.
Quick ad break. It's for me personally. I've got to promote my business, and you are my target audience. If you're a contractor, you're running a business that's north of $500,000 in revenue, you already know the grind. You're the salesperson, the project manager, the HR department, and the guy that's fixing problems on the weekends and at 9 p.m. because you own the business and you're responsible. But I've got something for you. I built Growth Kits just to solve your problem of the chaos that comes with growth. It's a membership that gives you a growth team that's in your corner. It helps with staff, systems, and software. So you don't have to go and hire a bunch of people that you can't afford yet to fix problems that you've never fixed before. If you need to get work off your plate, we help you get up to 3 global talent hires per year as a part of our membership so that you can find low cost, low overhead positions to really take the admin work off of your plate. We mentor them for you weekly so that you're not stuck training someone from scratch. And if you need to give further training to them and other people on your team, we provide workshops to anyone that's at your company. Let me read off some of these first. Workshop titles: Own Outcomes, Not Tasks. 6 weeks going over that with your team in a very engaged setting that's virtual. Client Success and Retention: How to Handle Difficult Conversations. Communication and Meetings Mastery. Delegation Mastery, Business Financial Literacy, and How to Implement AI. That's just a few. We have over 21 workshops that are different going on throughout the year in 2026. If you need to talk through a decision on software or whatever it is, you can talk to anyone on our team to support you in your growth as a construction company. We also provide monthly masterminds with other owners who get it. So it's one membership. It's $600 a month. Your business gets more efficient and not more overwhelming as you grow. That is our goal with the Growth Kits membership. So if you've been white knuckling it and you're wondering when it's going to get easier, this is how you do it. You book a call that's in the show notes. I want to talk to you about it, and then I will show you exactly how we will help you remove some of the roadblocks in your business to growth and help you become more efficient and not more chaotic. Back to the episode.
You mentioned one just in passing that made me want to ask. People are scared not everybody, but a lot of people are scared to death of unemployment.
Yeah.
Can you tell me, should they be, should they not be? Is it not as big a deal as everybody? Can you talk about it a little bit?
Yes. Well, it can become a big deal, but it's not as scary as what everyone thinks it is. Every state, you pay into a state insurance fund. And so it's a percentage of employee payroll up to $25,000 here in Oklahoma. And depending on where you're at in your business and how many unemployment claims you've had determines your premium. For new businesses here in Oklahoma, that starts out at 0.5% up to $25,000 per each employee that you have.
Okay,
In year two and
up to $25,000 total premium, or
up to $25,000 of their total earnings,
of their. Okay.
and that's per employee.
Okay.
And so in year two and beyond, it moves up to 0.2%, up to that $25,000 threshold. And so when someone files unemployment, that insurance fund actually pays it, but your rate could go up.
Yeah.
So it is important to the bottom line. And the more employees or former employees that you have that file unemployment, the higher your rate goes. And so it can be very hurtful to your bottom line if you don't get in front of that.
Well, what's the flip side of not letting people go?
Well, the flip side is that you keep people who are not aligned with your culture and your values in your workforce that could bring a toxicity that really hurts the bottom line of your business. And so I would say that if we do our due diligence with progressive discipline, then you have the best opportunities to win those unemployment claims. And we can help you do that by helping you ensure that you have your documentation in order and all of the facts are on your side when you go to those hearings.
So documents in process, and you've got it, and you may represent at the hearings, or
Yes, we
you'll
do.
do that? Okay.
Yes.
And just completing the loop, over a period of time, if you have a surge and your rate goes up, but over a period of years you get things under control, it goes back down, correct?
Yeah. Yes. In Oklahoma, it's 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So that might have been a sidebar, and a lot of people understand it, but just I've seen people keep absolute knuckleheads that are destroying their business
Yes.
because they don't want to pay another. I don't know. Maybe it winds up being $300 a year or something.
Right. And I think sometimes it's not even about the unemployment claim. I think it's that they have difficulty having those conversations that are necessary to address those behaviors that are not productive.
I think, well, that kind of brings us to the two subjects I really wanted to talk about when we first met were employee evaluations and a process for that, which we'll get to in a minute. And the other one was how to bonus, which may seem random, but it's a difficult problem, is how to bonus non-revenue producing employees like administrative staff who do an excellent job, but they didn't increase the gross margin by 2%, so you don't know what kind of number to put on. But you introduced a subject, probably fits within one of the two I just talked about, progressive discipline. I love that. Can you give me what's necessary, fully necessary, including maybe job description and clarity to begin with? What's necessary for progressive discipline, and what are the elements?
I think in the beginning, having a well-written job description so that your employees understand the absolute expectations. Along with that, giving them the onboarding and training required so that they can meet those expectations is vitally important. Progressive discipline, we look at it is a process that is a policy that's written, but it's a process that's acted upon every time. So consistency in those processes. It typically has 4 different components. It starts with a verbal coaching or a verbal warning where you're letting that employee know that whatever the behavior is, that it's unacceptable and you'd love to see improvement in that behavior. If they go down a couple of weeks later, you're noticing, let's say the employee is showing up late to work and you've noticed a pattern. And so you ask them, is there a problem why you're not getting to work on time? It starts at 8:00. Are there any barriers that I can help you with to help you overcome this tardiness? You notice that it gets better for a couple of days, but then it backslides. So you need to have a formal documentation and process, which that begins right up number 1. And so you sit down and say, we've talked about this on date, whatever it was, a week ago. I've noticed that you did well for a couple of days and you're backsliding. So now we need to address this in a more formal written reprimand, and really letting them know how that adversely affects your business and the behavior that you would like to see from them, which is getting to work on time every day. Asking for their feedback. What are they going to do to ensure that they can be successful? Maybe that's setting their alarm clock, leaving the house 15 minutes early, whatever. But documenting that so that you begin that accountability trail.
Okay.
Beyond that, there's a write-up number 2. And then there is a third and final, which that's when a separation happens. If you go through these processes systematically, showing that I've done my part as the business owner to support this employee and remove all the barriers in their way, and they just haven't held up their end of the bargain, when you do let them go, you have the best chance possible of winning those unemployment claims. That's the benefit of progressive discipline. Now, there's one caveat that I have that I believe that progressive discipline serves, and it's reminding that employee these are just behaviors. And my job in doing all of this progressive discipline is to help you be the best employee that you can possibly be. And so that I'm doing this for your benefit. And so it's a mindset shift. It doesn't have to be a difficult conversation. It can just be conversational, and that I'm doing this to help you. And I want you to win as an employee.
I have 2 questions. One of them is pretty straightforward. Do you generally try to get the employee to sign? I mean, are these written after the verbal? They're written.
Yes, they're
and you want a
typically written.
signature.
It's nice to have a signature, but you don't have to have one.
Okay, that's what. And if you don't have one, I've heard, refuse to sign or something.
Yeah, you could just document that you had the conversation, met with them on this date and time, and that they refused to sign.
Then the second thing is being late to work is an objective thing. We kind of talked about this before. You were late to work or you weren't late to work. You were on time and I didn't see you. We can figure that out. But what about the attitude stuff? Somebody that always has a sour look on their face, is a pessimist. And how do you that's what I think. I think that you are a depressing individual. Straighten up. I mean, how do you deal with, you just say what you think, or on the subjective
I
stuff?
would just let them know that it doesn't have to be subjective. If it's in your documentation as far as your employee code of conduct, which is another thing that I would recommend that small businesses have, it outlines the appropriate conduct for employees, and you could specifically address their attitude and demeanor while at work.
Okay.
And so it removes some of that subjectivity. And if you talk with them about that in the interviews, you're setting yourself up and them to understand all the expectations of the job so that you can come back to them when you're coaching them and say, Martin, we talked about this in the interview, that it's really important that our employees show up with a pleasant attitude and a willingness to serve our customers every day with a little bit of with a joyful attitude and a smile on your face. And I've been noticing that that's not happening. And so, is there a problem? Is there something going on in your life that I need to be aware about?
Right.
And how can I help you be successful in this manner?
Yeah.
And I think the more you put into your documents as you're creating your company, the better off you'll be.
And that, it's not an HR document, but it's a contract for a certain business a guy does. And over the years, things happen, and he goes back to his contract and puts it in there. And I mean, it doesn't affect the prior, but every time he has something like, it's difficult, you didn't have that countenance language in there, and it starts happening, well, let's get it in the handbook, right?
Yeah.
So,
and you can make revisions anytime.
And then, that's almost just a clerical thing, but I used to have written handbooks, and we'd make a change, and we'd send out page 15, and some people would get it, some people wouldn't. Anyway, it was a mess. I think things are easier now, but recording them and making them available electronically to people. So,
Absolutely.
So to that point, of when we first met, I had several employees or several clients going through their annual reviews. I said, what are you guys going to talk about? Oh, we do this, this. How do you give raises? Based partly on the annual reviews. What's your formula? Well, man, I really like old Sally Jean, man. She does great work. So, okay. How do you approach employee evaluations reviews?
I think they should be, instead of a look backwards, they should be a roadmap forward to help drive performance and revenue on the bottom line, or drive professional growth and development in that person. And so while they are somewhat of a grade book looking over the last year, they should be forward looking to drive help and to drive the business forward.
I like
So,
that. Yeah. Something you can actually still do something about.
absolutely.
The future.
Absolutely. And I think where a lot of folks go wrong with their performance reviews is they save up all the things that have really irritated them about that employee for the year, and it becomes a blasting session. The employee comes in and they just blast them with all of the negative things, and it totally demoralizes that employee to where they leave that office feeling defeated. And so, in my opinion, there should be the annual review, but there should be at least quarterly check-ins and one-to-ones between that immediate supervisor and that employee routinely. And as things come up, little issues along the way, they should be addressed in a conversational manner, just as the good things that they do should be acknowledged in a timely manner as well, so that employee, every interaction, they know that their supervisor is on their side and hoping that they win.
Yeah, somewhere along the line in my years of business, I learned catch them doing something right, and catch them publicly doing something right.
Yes, absolutely. And when you're making those corrections, you do those corrections in private.
Yeah, in private. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. So, well, you kind of answered it, but how often? You said quarterly, people talk annually. You said two things, how often, and then who does it? And you said the manager. Anyway, more formally, I'm the owner of a small business.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got 19 employees. Strange, I have two clients that have 19 employees. Am I doing them all, or do I give some to shop foreman to do? I mean,
yeah. My question would be, who's the immediate supervisor?
okay.
And I think that they're the ones that need to build that rapport with the employee, because statistically, when employees leave their jobs, it's a known fact in HR that employees don't typically leave because of the business. They leave because of that relationship or lack thereof with their immediate supervisor. Yeah. So it's really important that immediate supervisor builds a great rapport with that employee. I also think it's great that that owner of the company with 19 employees gets to know them well, too. So I think that there's opportunity for both.
And you're just triggering questions. I'm not going to remember to ask them all, but the owner should get to know all 19. One thing I hear a lot, and I am not for it, is people say, we're family. And I say, well, you're not family.
Right.
I'm looking at your expression. I don't know if you're with me on that or not.
Yeah.
Somebody makes a point, somewhere I read that what we are, maybe it's Netflix CEO. We're a professional team, professional athlete team. And you're here because of what you accomplish, and you're here because you're part of the team. But we're not family. And I tell people, and interested to see what you think, is we're not friends. I mean, that runs counter to every cell in my body, but you can't do what you have to do that's best for the business if everybody's your friend. And you'll find out, will leave you for not a 20% pay increase, or husband or wife got a job somewhere else and sorry, gone. So,
Right.
I mean, am I being too harsh there?
Well, I think a lot of people do look at it like it's the work family. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at it as a work family. However, I do think that you need to set clear expectations that while I do care about you as a person and I consider you part of our work family, I still have to remain objective so that I can do these evaluations and be the very best I can for the organization because
Right.
that's my job.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one thing I tell them is if we tend to look at a person, unfortunate circumstances that may have to leave, not
Mhm.
because they're bad people, but whatever it is. And people say, oh man, we just keep them around. Well, you're threatening the livelihood of everybody else, not to mention your
Absolutely.
customers, your clients, your suppliers, your all that. And so it's tough. That's like I've said a lot recently. You can't be a sissy and own a business, right?
No, no. And if you want your business to thrive, you need to be willing to step into those uncomfortable spaces and have the conversations that will lead to the best outcome, whatever that outcome is. Sometimes that employee, you can turn them around to where they begin to knock it out of the park. Maybe they lacked self awareness and didn't realize how they were showing up or how other people perceive them. Other times, you might have to help them separate from the company. And both are okay.
That's a perfect segue to something else. Do you know the book First Break All the Rules by
No,
Buckingham and Kaufman?
no.
It's a book, man, you'd love it. You would
I'm going to
absolutely
have
love.
to read it.
Oh, you got to read it. Not the whole world doesn't have to, but anybody in HR needs to, or managers need to. But it was written by these two guys, Buckingham and Kaufman. But they work for Gallup organization that does polling. And it's
Yes.
based on 80,000 interviews with business managers. And one of their conclusions, this is what I was going to ask you about, and maybe read it. We'll talk about it again. We'll do a book review.
All right.
Their main takeaway is don't try to put in what was left out. And what they're saying is people can change, but not much. And anyway,
Okay.
anyway, it's much more developed than that.
Oh,
But that's basically the takeaway is people aren't going to change. And I look back on my career and I can say I've had particularly like people with emotional problems and alcohol problems
mhm.
working for me. And I kept them way too long because of empathy and
Yes.
all, I'm not going to throw them out when they're at the bottom and all this. But I can think maybe right now of two cases where people behaved in a manner that should have gotten them fired
Right.
and instead worked with them and they became not only stars, but rock stars. But that's over 50 years. So I don't
Right.
know. That would be a question I would ask you. Maybe read the book. Is it worth
I'm
trying to make
I'm
people?
I'm going to read the book. I would say that in my career, I've seen a much higher rate than what you're saying the book has had on successes, and so I really think that in the early time in working with that employee through their difficulty, paying particular attention on if if that relationship is salvageable or if they're serious about meeting the goals, whatever those goals
Right.
are professionally. And so leaning in when they are serious and doing their part. But if they are not serious and they're consistently not meeting the deadlines early on, then maybe that's when we stop
Yeah.
those relationships.
Yeah. And I think, I know you've talked about this, not on the podcast today, but before. What am I contributing to their not being able to do it? So,
Oh, absolutely.
physician, heal thyself and get the mote out of my eye or the log out of my eye.
Right.
So, anyway, that's a dilemma for a lot of people. And I'm going to give a practical application for people who listen to us. People who listen to us know that when you sell a business, you're typically selling a multiple of the profit. So, if you made $100,000, you just sell, and the multiples you sell your business for $400,000. I had a client who sold his business and he got a 7 multiple. There's a point to this. I know you're looking at.
Okay.
What's he talking about? But he sold the business. We were doing due diligence, and a young lady walked into the room, and he glared at her, and she said, "Sorry, I just need to go get that." And she got something and left. And I said, "What was that all about?" He said, I just realized she cost me $210,000. I said, "Okay." He said her salary was 30 grand. She could not do anything, but he kept her on because she was the daughter of a friend and he was selling the business and they'd let her go. His multiple was 7. $30,000 her salary, reduced their profit by 30,000 times 7 is $210,000. Not letting her go
Right.
cost him. So there's that. I mean, that's kind of way
and that
out of
sounds
normal
reasonable.
HR, but that's what happens when you're selling your business and you have what I call legacy employees.
Yes.
I don't know if there's a universal meaning to that, but they've always been here. They started with my dad when he found it, all that stuff. What do they do? Yeah, he's kind of the PR guy with among the, whatever it is. Well, when you sell your business, there are 8 or 10 of those guys in there. It's costing you a lot of money.
Yeah.
And you can actually go in and give them some money in separation. Although I don't know if you can always do that, right? I've had people tell me, don't just go ahead.
Well, it depends. You have to do a little due diligence to figure out what the opportunities are. So I don't want to say you could do it across the board, but I think certainly it's a viable thing to consider.
Well, that's another point where they need HR professionals because
Yes.
yeah, well, I couldn't. I gave him $10,000. We didn't give Bill $10,000. Well, Bill's a jerk. Now I don't know if that counts for anything or not,
Right.
but it sounds like, that might not be a good thing.
I don't think that's a good practice, right?
Quick ad break, contractors. I want to tell you about Quo, formerly OpenPhone. I see something all the time. A customer calls in, they talk to one person on your team, and then they call back later and get someone else, and they have no idea what's going on. What do you do when you have a frustrated customer and your team is scrambling to piece it all together? It's just another fire for you to put out. Quo fixes all of that. It's an AI-powered phone system. Your whole team shares one number, or they can have their own individual numbers, but they can see the full call history. They can listen to call recordings, they can see automatic transcriptions, and even AI summaries of exactly what was said. You can tie it into your CRM too, so now the customer info isn't scattered all over the place, it's in one single source of truth. If any of this sounds appealing to you, check out the special offer in the show notes just for our listeners. Thank you for listening. Back to the episode.
So we've got a review process that is continuous basically over the year and when you get to the review process, I love that. You're looking forward.
Yes.
You're not just, if you have something you need to mention, maybe you mention it about the past, but you look forward. I love that.
And the reason you're mentioning the things that happened in the past is if whatever their deficiency was, if you're having these one-on-one conversations, you can say, in the first quarter of this year, we had this little hiccup, but you've addressed it. And I'm really proud of how you've handled that and the growth that we've seen. So it's pouring into them, just saying, I can't wait to see what happens next year, that you're on the right path. And so during that performance review, there's no surprises.
Yeah. And I'm sitting here thinking of a small business owner going, I'm too busy to do that and take notes, but it's kind of what you got to do, right?
It's what you've got to do. If you want your team to be as successful as they can, it's worth the investment. It's worth that time investment.
Yeah. Something I've heard a lot, this may sound a little random, but it's part of what I see a lot. And is it a gimmick or not a gimmick? Is it useful, not useful? But they will have the employee score him or herself on a bunch of things like attitude, whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the owner scores them on the same things. And at the end of the meeting, we compare and look. What are your thoughts on?
I think if you're going to do that self-assessment, they can be helpful. But more than just the owner doing it, I would ask that they send it out to other people that work with them so that it's more of like a 360 and not two opposing views, possibly. so that you get a well-rounded view from what their peers, what their potential customers, what other leaders in the
Okay.
organization, how they see them performing. And I think then you can have an honest conversation about how they see themselves versus how everyone else sees them.
Okay. And so you do that on everybody, so it's kind of fair.
Yes.
That's not the right word.
Yes, because you want to be consistent when
Right.
you roll out processes like this.
Well, yeah, EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, that's one of their, I don't remember what they call that, but their peers evaluate everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really helpful because it's more than just one view, which
Right.
the owner may not be side by side with them every day, seeing how they interact day in and day out and how they're serving all the time. So they have a limited view. But when you get that 360 view,
Right.
it's really a much more holistic look at how they're performing every day.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, I always looked at that and I thought, man, is that harsh or not? I mean, I get if they want to do a 360 on me, I'm the CEO, I order it done, tell everybody I can take it. But
Yeah.
everybody's out there getting their licks in on people they don't like. And I mean, that's
Well,
my
and it's-
imagination running around.
Right. But if you look at it like these are growth opportunities, it's not to beat you down or to get you fired, but it's where are the opportunities? Where are you doing really well and knocking it out of the park? And then where are our opportunities so that as we set your goals, we can set goals that really move the needle forward for the
Right.
future.
Yeah. Well, I like that. I'm going to have to start now on the questions and how to conduct that. That's the
Uh-huh.
sort of things you help people
Oh,
design.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Matter of fact,
And
maybe
we-
it comes from you.
Yes, it comes directly from me, and the results come back to me. And so they're compiled in aggregate. And so there will be a group of peers, a group of supervisors, and then the immediate supervisor and the upline. And then you'll see the self-evaluation. And so it's different groups, and the data is provided in a way that you don't really know who gave that feedback.
Okay, that was a question.
So it remains anonymous. Yeah.
Yeah, the ones I've seen EOS. Maybe it's because I'm coaching the people that are doing it, but it had everybody's names on it. Who said what? I go,
I
don't
think
want
you
that to
get,
fall out of your briefcase.
right. I think you get more honest data feedback, if you allow that anonymous
Okay.
factor to it.
Okay, we're getting toward the end, but the second subject, I think we could go on for a long. I know I could. You might.
Right.
I might wear you out, but the compensation is always an issue. Bonus programs that, first of all, $500 at Christmas time because you work there. I'm against that.
Me too.
I've done that myself. I had lots of clients who've done it. They've had harsh years where they gave $250 and everybody, well, what happened to my bonus? Well, it's not your bonus. It was a gift, literally from my pocket to yours. But I like to have understood meaning. I've got lots of really good ones, although I can learn more, on people who are revenue producers, or directly linked to cost savings. How do you approach it with admin people?
With admin people, they really are the backbone of the organization.
100%.
And so you can look at the accuracy and timeliness of the paperwork or the response time to customer or crews, in turning around if it's questions or processes that they're working on. Are there process improvements? Whatever role they're playing, is there a way that we could get some gains by reworking that process? And once we rework it, we can look objectively, were there errors reduced? Did we shorten that time for that turnaround, for that feedback, for the completion of that project? Those are things that are objective that you can bonus on, that don't have anything to do with bringing in more money annually, but it does bring in more money annually.
Right. Right. Oh, no. Savings and efficiency.
Absolutely. And most of the time, our admins are critical in this.
Yeah. Nobody understands why you need a bookkeeper. But
Right.
I do.
Right?
Matter of fact, I'm going to give him or her your bonus. You spent it, they created it. So
Right.
how often of the companies you work with, and I presume a lot,
Yeah.
do they all have a bonus structure? I mean,
Most companies do because they want to reward their employees.
yeah.
I'm kind of like you. I don't like giving bonuses just because we give $500 before Christmas every year, because that creates a sense of entitlement that
Exactly.
when you're having lean years or when things are tough and you can't do that, it really hurts the morale of your team. And if you're giving that same bonus amount to everyone across the board, for your high performers, it feels like a slight. The slackers are getting the same thing that you're getting.
Yeah, absolutely. I've read that somewhere. I'm sure almost everybody has it. If you want to run a good employee, tolerate a bad one.
That 100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, I think, I just have to say this because he might be listening, because he does. But what we're talking about there in my terminology is an alignment. In other words, we're pursuing our own self-interest. We have aligned to the benefit of each other. You know, if you do this, the company makes more money. The company makes more money. You make more money. So,
Right.
And I've got a guy who is very remarkable. Just my jaw is on my chest a lot when I'm around him. He just makes all the right moves, but he calls himself, he's the owner, the chief alignment officer.
Okay.
That's what he calls himself. I said, align rhetorically. Align who? Everybody. With each other, with me, with the company, with the job, with the customer, with the vendors, with their trainers. Everybody has to be aligned that they all benefit from the things that they do mutually. So,
And I think that's a great attitude to have. Most people think of that like as strategic planning. He's calling it alignment. But if the owner sets the tone and the goals for the year, if everybody throughout the organization understands how what they do affects the bottom line and drives the company forward, that alignment is going to pay off in huge ways.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, ma'am. But I have one last question.
Okay.
Surely there is something very important about HR that I failed to bring up. Well, if you had to add one other important thing that we didn't discuss.
With HR, there's a lot of complexity around the laws and compliance and those types of things that we can really help you operate in a way that we bring compliance is the word of the day.
Yeah, good. And no DIY.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say, and call Tina and find out. You did mention to me when we first met, you could do things like start out with an HR manual. Well, that may be too big. Well, let's start out with a job description for that job. Anyway, start with something that maybe costs, I'm going to say a number, but I don't even have it. That costs $500 to get this done. And then once it's done, it's essentially done. And then when you save up another $500, you mow some more lawns, go do the next one.
Absolutely. Right? And it could be that small.
Yeah.
I mean, the project by project, and before you know it, you're in compliance in a lot of areas.
That's because you began. If you did not begin at the end of the year and you look back, you go, I'm having exactly the same problems that I had this date last year. And in fact, it's the same people.
Right. And we hear that a lot. And so we say, if you are ready to stop that insanity, let us know, because we will hold your hand and walk you through that process.
Man, it's worth doing, guys. And do not do what I've said many times. I can't afford it. You don't know. It doesn't even cost a dime anymore. It used to cost a dime to make a phone call. It doesn't even cost you anything to make a phone call. Just find out. So, okay, ma'am. Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
You made it to the end of the episode, but before you go, if you found yourself thinking about growing your construction business while listening today, I want to share something with you. It's called our 24 Things to Hiring and Training the Perfect Executive Assistant for Your Construction Business. And it's a free guide that we've created. It's not theory, it's what we actually use to help contractors hire the perfect executive assistant. And really, we help you find ways to delegate over 50% of your current workload and get back 20 hours of your time every single week. You didn't start your construction business to just be doing admin work, to be buried in paperwork and endless admin tasks. This is the guide that shows you exactly how to find and train someone who can actually take all that weight off of your shoulders. So this is a real actionable, great PDF that has templates and processes. It's really, really great. And I want you to check it out, even just to get your feedback and how we can make it even more valuable. But I know that you're gonna love it. The link is in the show notes. Please download it. We'd love to see how much of an impact it makes on you and your business. Thanks for listening to the full episode. Check out the guide. It's free. No reason to hesitate. No reason to wait. Download it now. And before you go, I just want to ask for your gracious subscription to our podcast. So if you have 2 seconds, it means the world to us. Just subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, or if you'd like our weekly newsletter delivered to your inbox whenever we release an episode, please subscribe in the show notes. Every week, we're talking about real strategies on how you can grow and build a profitable construction business that runs without you, so you can have less stress, more time, and more money. Click subscribe wherever you listen to the show, and thank you again for checking out the Cashflow Contractor. See you on the next episode.